It's time for my early morning walk, and today I'm going to walk around the base of Königstein Fortress in Saxon Switzerland in Germany. This is one of many tourist routes around the area, and this is one that's especially for me because it starts and finishes at the same spot. It's at the base of the fortress, and I'm just going to walk around it. So why don't I start by telling you something about Königstein Castle. Königstein Fortress, or Castle as I sometimes call it, is one of the largest hilltop fortifications in Europe and probably one of the most formidable castles in Europe. The castle is on a plateau some 240 meters above the Elbe River. The outer wall is 1,800 meters long, with walls up to 42 meters high with high sandstone cliffs, making it very, very strong, as you can see from this video. Located in the beautiful Saxon Switzerland area of Germany, this is a major tourist attraction and welcomes some 700,000 visitors per year. To get there, you can use the Dresden S Bahn and walk from the station at Königstein. This has the advantage of making one appreciate just how strong the fortress is, although of course it's an uphill walk. Alternatively, there's a car park at the base of the plateau, and for those that don't want to walk up from the car park, you can use the shuttle service, or if you're on a coach trip, the coach will take you to the car park at the top, or the coach park at the top I should say. That's just right next to the castle, and it's a much easier walk, or indeed you can use the lift to get into the castle itself.
The sandstone mountains were once the floor of a sea 100 million years ago, and due to time they were pushed up, formed a massive block, but then fissures occurred and that left the landscape we have today. And here, for example, you can see the fissures very clearly. The massive blocks, but there are the cracks between them, which are very clear. That's why in places you can have these massive plateaus, such as here at Königstein, or alternatively you might have just one block standing up in a rather peculiar shape. So what we see today is really the debris, in a way, of weathering, of erosion, and it's not really mountains, but rather that caused by uplift.
To a large extent, the fortress became a tourist attraction thanks to art, as indeed did the region of Saxon Switzerland. And this goes back to the latter part of the 18th century. Just before the 7 Years' War, Elector Augustus III commissioned the Italian artist Bernardo Bellotto to paint a series of 5 large-scale views of the fortress. The war started in 1756 and the pictures were not finished before the outbreak of hostilities. Bellotto did not know what to do with them, and, needing the cash, he sold them to buyers in the UK. Today, 4 of the Königstein paintings are held in public collections in the UK, whilst the 5th can be seen at the National Gallery of Art in Washington D.C. I think I also need to say that whereas I'm not interested in art in general, I'm also one of those people whose interest in Saxon Switzerland was inspired by the Romantic artists of the 18th and 19th centuries, people like Bernardo Bellotto. The plateau is a natural defensive area. There's a record dating to 1233 mentioning a defensive position on the site which for centuries had been a border route, although the names of the countries have changed. It also guards an important trade route, controlling traffic on the Elbe River. In the centuries that followed, it expanded, it changed hands, it even changed use and became a monastery for a short period of time. The oldest surviving structure today is the castle chapel, which was built at the turn of the 13th century. In the years 1563 to 1569, the 152.5 metre well was bored into the rock within the castle, and until that point the garrison had to obtain water from either cisterns or by collecting rainwater. During the construction of the well, some 8 cubic metres of water had to be removed from the shaft every day. This is the second deepest well in Germany, if memory serves me correctly. Between 1589 and 1597, Prince Elector Christian I of Saxony and his successor had the castle developed into the strongest fortification in Saxony. High outer walls and internal buildings were erected, which include the gatehouse, barracks and armoury. Construction continued until about 1756, as rulers sought to expand the castle. After this period, work was carried out internally, but nothing to match the major changes that had occurred earlier. The last building of any consequence was built at the end of the 19th century, although, of course, I could say the recent addition, which is the lift on the outside of the building. One very curious feature is the largest wine barrel in the world, which took from 1722 to 1725 to make. This was done at the behest of August the Strong, who clearly liked to drink from time to time. As Königstein Fortress was regarded as unconquerable, the Saxon monarchs retreated to it during times of social upheaval. The state treasury was here, as were many works of art, safekeeping, after all. It was also used by them as a second residence due to the natural beauty of the area and good hunting which could be found in the vicinity. And it was also used as a prison. Although the fortress was never taken in battle, it was surrendered. During the 7 Years' War in 1756, Prince Elector Frederick Augustus II saw his army outmaneuvered and forced to surrender from the castle on the nearby Lilienstein. In August 1813, during Napoleon's Wars, the clash at Kritzschwitz took place in view of the castle, an engagement that proved to be an important precursor to the Battle of Leipzig, which arguably is the battle that defeated Napoleon. Until 1922, the fortress was the best known state prison in Saxony. It was also used as a prisoner of war camp, first time being during the Franco-Prussian War, and it was also used during the 2 World Wars. In World War I, it served to hold French and Russian officers, and in World War II, it again served as an Oflag. It was Oflag 4B and held British, French, Polish and other Allied officers. It was from here that General Henry Giraud escaped on the 17th of April 1942, probably one of the most daring escapes of the war, and something I will probably examine in another video. After the Second World War, the Red Army used the fortress as a military hospital. From 1949 to 1955, it was used by those who did not appreciate life in the DDR. Once it ceased to be a prison for political prisoners in East Germany, it became a museum. That was on the 29th of May 1955. In the first 20 years after unification, the Saxon government spent some 46 million euros on renovation, and today I think it's really an outstanding place for a visit, and indeed the whole of Saxon Switzerland is an outstanding place for a visit. You need to go there, I think, when the weather's good. The castle, okay, the day I visited, it rained, so it wasn't a major problem because when it rained I was indoors, but to appreciate the beautiful scenery and the walks, I think it's best when the weather is good. Although, I'm sure in the winter, if you've got a lovely, bright, clear day, that'll be good as well. Now, you can see the walks in other films that I did to many places there. It's really a very stunning area to visit.